You're listening to Conversation in Sports, starring Alex Higdon and Tim McKain, and we got a lot of NBA topics to talk about. Everybody got paid today, or it seems like everybody got
Yeah.
paid today. Um, the one that stands out to me, and we're going to talk about the Lakers soon, but I want to talk about Steph Curry. He is the first NBA player in NBA history that's signed for $200 million contracts.
Yep.
By the time, and if I think in the next 5 years, this is according to ESPN, he's going to get a total of 261 million within the
Mm,
next 5 years. The brother
mm.
is making bank. Alex, what are your thoughts on Stephen Curry getting another $200 million contract and as we see 261 million in the next 5 years, guaranteed.
I mean, he deserves it. He has changed. He has been a person that has changed the game of basketball, which is why he has the. Which is why he has the. He's so highly ranked on the point guard list, quote unquote point guard list, with Magic, Isaiah, and so on and so forth, because he revolutionized the game. He helped usher it in, like the way that teams are playing is really based off, I don't want to just say him by himself, but the Splash Brothers, but him being the catalyst, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
And basically changing the way that we go for threes instead of twos no matter what. Like you've seen NBA, and you've seen players, you've seen teams, you watched what D'Antoni has done with Houston when he had Harden. You watch how Kerr, after Mark Jackson, I always want to give credit to Mark Jackson, dubbed them the Splash Brothers, put that battery in their back, and we saw how Kerr helped spread the floor even more when he started Draymond over David Lee, and really opened up and really unlocked the full potential of that offense. So, he's been the catalyst behind all of that. So it's well deserved. He's the face of the franchise. He's one of the faces of the league. So it's well deserved, and he's carried himself in a way. Shout out to he's one of North Carolina's finest. So let's always give a shout out to that, being the state that we're currently in. So yeah, no, he well deserved, and I think I don't know if he passed LeBron yet, or he's about to blow past LeBron within the next year or so.
In terms of what
In
net
terms of
worth?
no, because LeBron has
Exactly.
billion.
Yeah, he's a
No,
billion.
no, we're talking about NBA earnings. NBA earnings.
Okay.
NBA.
I'm not certain. I have to look that up for sure.
Yeah, I'll
I
look
don't
it up
think
while you're talking. Yeah, I'll look it up while you're talking.
he might. I mean, he probably. I mean, this might have been a way for because you're right. In some sense, this could be from a player standpoint in terms of how much money they make. This could be the Warriors trying to say, well, we know LeBron's a billionaire, but let's have Steph Curry beat LeBron in another kind of way. Let's make him have another $200 million contract. I'm not sure if that's true, but someone could allude to that.
Hmm.
Um, I would say this about Steph Curry. Steph Curry, he definitely was someone who changed how people played the game in terms of, like you said, being more outside shooting than inside or going down the post. Even though the past 2 years, the people who won championships, they were actually teams in the 4 to 5 that positions that had a significant input on the team's win, not the shooting. I want people to realize that, like, people feel like, oh, well, you got to the Houston experiment. And for the record, we got to give credit to Mike D'Antoni because I feel like Mike D'Antoni, a lot of people didn't like his style,
Right.
and some still don't. Some still do not like his style. But the thing that the Warriors are doing, you could make the point that Mike D'Antoni was doing that
Oh
in
yeah.
Phoenix. The
Yeah.
type of offensive first fast-paced, free-flowing basketball with Steve Nash. We saw that first, and we saw that firsthand. And to be honest with you, we didn't know if you could win a championship that way. Now, granted, one of the flaws that Mike D'Antoni has is defenses, which is why he's not one. And for the people who don't know, as great as an offensive team that those Warriors teams were, they also were great defensive
Yep.
teams.
Clay is
And
one
I
of the
don't
best.
think
Yeah, Clay is one of the best, and Draymond was defensive player, I think, twice, if I'm not mistaken.
he was on the defensive team. I'm not sure if he was defensive player of the
Oh
year.
no, yeah, Draymond has a defensive player of the year. It's either 1 or 2 years he got it, but he's definitely a defensive player of the year.
Defensive player of the year. I have to check that out.
Yeah.
Um, But I
And
would just
just to go back, I'm sorry, LeBron's at 349 currently, and Steph is at 212. So
oh yeah. I mean, I know they're gonna try to they're trying to get Curry to that level, but you know, LeBron. I mean, he's just look. LeBron's a top 5 player of all time. I know they're trying to make Steph Curry and say, "Oh, he's top 5." No, he's not. Stop it. He's not top 5. He might be top 5 point guard if we're gonna give him. If we're gonna, he's top 5 point guard if we're gonna give him the point guard position. I actually think that Steph Curry is more of a combo guard than a point guard. But congratulations to Stephen Curry because obviously he changed the game. He's an incredible player to watch. I mean, the way the brother moves and all this stuff, you know, the way that he moves on the court, the way he flows on the court is so unique and so different. And I'm just going to say the times that we're living in now, Steph Curry's style is beautiful, you know, but I just, for me as a person who loves the inside game too, I'm just gonna say we gotta show some love to the big man. We gotta like look at the end of the day, Anthony Davis, he was a huge part of what the Lakers did when they won the
Mhm.
championship last year. And as we know, Giannis is not a 3-point shooter. He can try, but he's not. He is not a 3-point shooter. He is down the post, down low, doing his thing in the post. And I just want people to know there's not only one way to win championships. This whole 3-point thing is good, but you also have to have defense. As great of an offensive team that you can be, you got to be defense.
Yep.
Defense wins championships.
Yep. And plus,
But
on top of that too, there hasn't been as great as the point guards overall that we've seen coming in, the Trey Youngs, the John Morants, and so on and so forth. None of those point guards have ever really won a championship.
mm,
Steph has won, but he's yet to be, an MVP of any of those series, even though he's still a great player and everything like that. But it goes back to what I've always said: wings win championships. That's what you need. You got to have a wing. And though Giannis is more of a four, but his athleticism, he's able to play on the wing, defensively and offensively. He can take you off the dribble. He can defend, on the perimeter as well as inside. So I maintain that same thing. I'm always going to maintain it until I see different. You got to have a wing. You got to have a 2 or 3 or an athletic 4 to win yourself a championship, because those are who are winning the championships. Those guys that have wings. We saw uh, twice this year. We saw the Clippers with their backs against the wall, and we saw PG, who was a wing, be the catalyst to take him or take those teams over the top. But shout out to Steph Curry. He well deserved. Like I said, he's been the most complimentary player, and he's not a complimentary player. When I say complimentary, I'm talking about he was able to bring in. They were able to bring in Kevin Durant, and he made it work. You
no,
know,
no, no, no. Look. You said it. I mean, look. Obviously, Steph Curry is the face of the Warriors.
yeah.
But when Kevin Durant was there, Steph
Oh,
Curry took a back seat. There
he
ain't no
had to.
question.
He had to. Yeah.
There ain't
Kevin
no
Durant is a
question.
different animal. Kevin Durant
Yeah.
is a different animal.
I mean, come on. So for the people, look, we love Steph Curry. Steph Curry. And when we say we love Steph Curry, we talking about his game. He's
Right.
probably a very good man of faith, all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, good person, probably. I believe he is. But as a basketball player, Kevin Durant is top 15 of all time.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm not gonna lie, Steph Curry from a accolades point,
Mhm.
from a numbers point, he is in that list. But I also think that some of the numbers can be potentially inflated. I don't want to say that he's not top 20. I
Oh no,
think he
he's
could
top.
be.
Yeah,
He's top 20, but I'm not sure if I want to put him in the top 10. People are already saying, oh, top 10, top 5. No, okay.
Yeah, it
No.
depends when you get. I think when you get to the top 10, you start to get your arguments. When you get, I think probably when you get to around probably between 6 to 12 is when you really get a lot of arguments, and you can really start, because once you get that Magic, LeBron, who's the 5? I guess you throw however you feel about the older players. I always never rank them because I never saw them play, so it's different.
Right.
I'm not excluding them. It's just I didn't experience them, so I don't.
I feel you.
There's no way for me to really rank it and look at it.
I
But when
mean,
you get the Jordans and the LeBrons and who else, the Shaqs and so on and so forth, when you get to that 6 through 12, I think you could argue anywhere for those people, anywhere for anybody being those places.
I hear you. For me, it's more so out of respect. I didn't see Jordan as prime. I saw Jordan as a wizard, but I still see him as one of the GOATs. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? For a long time I didn't see him as a GOAT because I did see him as a
You did
Wizard.
see
He
it, but
wasn't,
yeah,
you
right.
know
And
what I'm
that's
saying?
what I'm saying. Like you don't get
But
to.
when you look at the tape, you know what I'm saying? When you look at the tape, when you study it, you say, okay, we know why the respect was there. For me personally, I never saw Isaiah Thomas play,
Mhm.
but I know Isaiah Thomas was a dog. We
Mhm.
put Isaiah Thomas and Stephen Curry back in the 80s and the 90s. I'm curious to see what happened. If we
Mhm.
put Isaiah Thomas in now in today's game, I'm curious to see what happens. I think that there could be potentially two different results,
Mhm.
but I also think that it would be a matchup where people are already saying that he's better than Isaiah Thomas, and I can't give him
Oh
that
yeah,
yet.
nah, yeah, it's hard for me to give. It's hard for me. But like I said, I see the argument. I don't, I see the argument. And just we were talking about Draymond. Yeah, he was defensive player of the year in 2017.
Okay, respect. I mean, look, he said he was the greatest defensive player of all time, so you should have at least a couple of them. He should have at least a couple of
Well,
them.
Dwight Howard was it Dwight Howard? I think Dwight Howard or Marcus or somebody stole one from him where he definitely should have had it, but
Well,
we
for the
won't argue.
record,
It's hard to argue. They, people
I'm
earn
not.
it, they earn it.
I don't care what Draymond. I don't care what Draymond said. I don't care what no one says. Dwight Howard in his prime was a better defensive player than Draymond Green. I do not care. I do not care. And Dwight Howard isn't even nonetheless. We're talking about NBA free agency.
Yeah.
All right. So DeMar DeRozan, he
Mhm.
did put out a podcast with Shannon Sharp, and he was talking about the Lakers, but he agreed to a sign and trade with the Chicago Bulls.
Yep.
Same thing with Lonzo Ball. And to me, the Bulls, it's an interesting situation that's happening with the Bulls. You got Lonzo potentially, this is that way I would project it, at least the top three. I mean, in terms of point guard to small forward, you got Lonzo Ball at the point, Zach LaVine at the guard position and the shooting guard, and then you have DeMar DeRozan at the three. Now I do know they have Vujicic,
Vucevic, yeah.
Vucevic.
Yep.
So they're gonna be. It's gonna be a very interesting team. I know you commented and said that there's no defense, but Lonzo Ball actually has
No,
good defense.
now up front, but it's the back end. They're not gonna. They don't have a rim protector.
Mm,
So if you get
Most
somebody
teams
like
don't though now.
right, but they don't. So for instance, we were talking about Giannis. So let's just talk about Giannis. Shout out to them. I know we've both been busy, so we missed a few weeks of the playoffs and then the end of the finals and stuff like that. So shout out to
Milwaukee Bucks.
the Milwaukee Bucks. But no, that's what I'm talking about. They have nothing for a Giannis, and not to say that anybody has anything for Giannis, but they don't have anything down low. Vucevic is an offensive player. He's not a defensive player. And right as it stands right now, I think it's Markkinen, or maybe I think it's the other guy who's a European stretch four. He's not a defender player. So when you got to go against those guys that have like for us, the Knicks that have a Randall or somebody that has a Giannis, and then they have nothing, or if they face the Lakers, Anthony Davis, they don't have anything down low to stop those guys. Everything's gonna have to come from that front. Everything's gonna have to come from that front court. So that's when I say they don't have anything on that back end they don't have a rim protector. So if you get you get a four that knows how to maneuver, and I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. If you get a Bosh type or Giannis type or Julius Randle type, they have nothing down there to stop them. Those guys are just going to tee off, and it's going to be a problem. So I'm interested to see how they come together. DeRozan is the best. Kawhi is out right now. So if you just take Kawhi out, as far as the mid-range jump shooter, shout out to my man B who said
He's the best.
DeRozan is the best mid-range shooter in the league.
Might have to disagree with you there.
He's the best mid-range shooter in the league.
I gotta disagree with you.
Okay.
It used to be DeRozan. Now it's Devin Booker. Now it's Devin Booker.
I don't know yet. Devin Booker's there, but even if I won't quibble about it. One or two.
Yeah.
He's top three in the league, and once you stick Kawhi in there, and if you want to put Booker there.
Well, I'm saying like healthy. Like we're talking about healthy.
If
like
everybody's healthy, DeRozan is top three, so he's up there.
Okay, respect.
As a mid-range shooter. Yeah, I won't quibble over the list and things like that because I don't watch enough of everybody to go back and forth about it. But yeah, no, he's definitely one of the top three. And then you have obviously LaVine, who's a high
Star.
flying all take you off the dribble, can shoot the three now. He's developed a nice three game and things like that. And then you have Lonzo, who's going to be running the point, who is a really good, I don't want to say great, he is a really good point guard. He just needs to stay healthy. That's his problem. He's got to stay
Yeah.
healthy. He's yet to play 60 games in a season.
Mm,
So,
yeah, he played 55 last year.
Yeah, that's the most he's ever played. He does not get you to six. He can't get to 60 games. And I think that's a problem for a 23-year-old player.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, I definitely get what you're saying in terms of health, but we all know that there was also another light-skinned brother who had ankle issues.
Mm-hmm.
And he became
But Steph played. If you look at Steph has always played 65 plus games. Always.
I get it. But you know, like at the end of the day, we seen the development of Lonzo Ball. I know a lot of people, they say he's overrated. Well, first off, everyone. Okay, so it's like for Lonzo, right? And I'm just gonna say this for Lonzo, we saw the explosion of his father, right? Because I remember Lonzo Ball at UCLA, and I remember watching a basketball game, and he was nice. He was like that. He was leading the league in assists at that time. The whole nation, he was leading the league in assists. But this was before he blew up. They're like, oh, he's a really good player. Then his father blew him up and said he was better than Steph Curry, better than everybody. You say LeVar said he could beat Michael Jordan. Oh, it's kind of crazy stuff. You know what I mean? In terms of marketing, you know, and I think it was smart in terms of getting his son drafted number 2. But I also believe that made a lot of that gave Lonzo a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot. He was a target.
In terms of people attacking, I'm just gonna be honest with you. When people see, and this is gonna be a controversial statement that I'm gonna make, but when people see a strong black father being as obnoxious as LeVar was being, they don't like that. They don't like a father being that into their child's life. They don't like it.
I loved it. I supported it. I'm with it all the way.
And I totally agree with you. I totally salute the Ball family and what they're doing. I do think that there was this attack on black men in terms of who's this guy talking all this stone. He needs to not be a part of his kid's life the way he is. All this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, LeVar Ball has 2 sons who are in the NBA right now.
Three.
And he's got another one who's working his way into the league. Okay,
he's on the Hornets.
He's on. Well, I think he's like on the.
He's there for now. Let's just.
You know what I'm saying? So when I say he's working, so I say he's working his way into the league. Yeah. Because he's not like in the league like.
He's not
Lonzo and LaMelo. But over the years, as much as people would say that Lonzo's this, Lonzo has excelled ever since his rookie year. He's always improved each year in his free throw percentage, in his 3-point percentage. He's always been a solid defender. He's a pass first guard. And even last year, right, when you look at his stats, he's got 5.7 assists. I believe those numbers can be skewed because he's the type of guy who will find somebody. So it's almost like when you watch Lonzo play, right? He'll make a fast break point. He'll find a teammate, and because he's a pass first guy, when you're a pass first type of guy, everybody around you can be passed. You know what I'm saying? When people are passing. Yeah. So he's passing the ball, he's moving, and then his teammate finds another person who's open, and then he passes the ball to him, and then he gets the assist. So I just think that people have to look at it from that perspective too. I like this light-skinned duo that we got over here, Levine with Lonzo Ball. You know what I'm saying? Light-skinned brothers taking over the league. You know, we got to stop all the hate. You know what I mean? But
yeah, no, I like Lonzo. I think I don't want to say he's overrated. I think it would be because of the voice of his father, he became what they like to say overhyped. And I don't even think he was overhyped. I just think the expectation of him coming. I think he is. Injuries aside, I think he's exactly what I thought he would be in the NBA. I never thought he was going to be a superstar or anything like that. I thought he was going to be a good player, a solid player, borderline Hall of Fame player. I'm looking at him in totality, I thought that he would be that type of player that'd be a solid I would say, I think I had said when he was coming out, I said he's going to be maybe 14 to 17 points, 7 to 8 assists, and maybe
Mhm.
6 to 7 rebounds, which is solid.
That's good.
That's solid. That's solid.
That's
That's a solid, consistent player. That's what you want. You can win the championship with that guy. He sets the offense. He sets the pace. He does everything. He makes the right decision with the ball in his hands, and that's what you want in critical situations. He's the guy that's going to make the right decision, set up the offensive, set up the offense. He's the extension of the coach on the floor. He's not Jason Kidd. He is.
no.
I don't want to say a poor man's Jason Kidd, but he's in that lineage. I'll give him that. He's in that lineage, the way that he plays and the way that he goes about the way he plays the game and how he manages the game on the floor. That's how I always saw him. And to me, he's exactly what I thought he'd be. I never, I understood what his father was doing. I had no problem with that. But as far as if you watched him at UCLA, he was a traditional point guard with the ability to score when needed, and he always made the right play. And that's what you want from the guy that's at the head of that's the extension of the coach on the floor. So shout out to Lonzo. I'm glad he got his money. I think what was that, 4 for 85, I think?
Yes, sir. 4 years, 85 million. The
Yeah.
Pelicans didn't think, there was reports that said the Pelicans didn't think that they were going to ever get a match like that. But in this NBA,
Well, they could have matched him. That's the whole thing. They could have matched him. That was his player. They had his bird right, so they could. It's not a big deal for them to keep him. I think they just had for the Pelicans, and since we're talking about them, I'm just going to try and pull them up. But they kind of had their what they thought they were going to do at that position set, and I think they had a number in mind. And I would probably say they're probably about maybe Chicago offered him probably $5 million more, maybe anywhere from $5
Right.
million more than what the Pelicans wanted to pay. So there you go. So if they wanted him, they could have kept him. I heard or I read or I saw a tweet from, I guess, Woj, that Ingram and Zion, they lobbied for the Pelicans to keep him, but they went in a different direction.
I honestly think the Pelicans right now, the Pelicans are looking like a terrible organization. I'm just going to say this right now. Zion already talked about how there's already been reports that he and his family, they don't like what's going on in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like New Orleans like that. I think they need to blow up everything. I think Lonzo Ball knew that Zion Williamson had issues there. And like, if Zion Williamson leaves New Orleans and it's like, why would a pass first guard stay there if no one, it's like the problem with small market teams is, and New Orleans is a beautiful city. I love New Orleans. But I just think the small market teams, it's tougher for them to get a lot of talent.
I don't know. I don't think so, because
I mean, the facts back it up. If you look at the championships that have been won, the fact of the matter is that the Los Angeles Lakers have won 18 championships. The Boston Celtics have won 17 championships. The next championship team that's on that list is Chicago Bulls, which won 6 under Michael Jordan in the 90s alone. Then you have the Golden State Warriors. So if we're talking about championships, if we're talking about in terms of celebrity and all these and things of that nature, it's tougher for small market teams. That's why the Milwaukee Bucks championship was so special. It wasn't just the fact that it wasn't a super team that didn't win it. Mind you, it was the fact that Milwaukee did it.
But look at the though. And this is why, because if we just go back, and I'm gonna go back to, I'll start in 1997. And they didn't win it, but they were there. Utah was there back-to-back seasons. San Antonio's a small market. They won a bunch of championships. The Mavericks won a championship. I don't want to say Miami. They're kind of more mid-level. But Cleveland, I know it's LeBron, but it's still a small market team. They won. Toronto won. And now you have Milwaukee. So in between there, you have, and Oklahoma City made the final. They didn't win, but that's a very small market. So the small market teams, it's all about, in this current NBA, I won't go back because those guys get to keep their players at all. They get to keep players, very small player movement. Now, these small markets may not be able to attract big time free agents. They would either they more than likely have to trade for them. But if you build it right, You build it right, you get a champion. You get a championship. So I can't, when we look at
I get that.
but San Antonio is
I
the
think I think you're right in terms of the perspective of building a super team, but I also think that you have to look at it from a draft standpoint as well, and from a super team standpoint. But it's very rare that those teams. The fact of the matter is, yeah, Cleveland won a championship, but Cleveland won a championship. That was the first time they won a championship since its inception. That's
period
one.
for the
Two.
even for the whole city.
Yeah. No.
Well, not for I'm saying
Yeah.
it been since the '60s since they won
Since
anything.
the sixth, right? You know what I mean. Then you have the Milwaukee Bucks. They had before this year. They won when Kareem was playing in 1974. I
Mhm.
mean, you can make a lot of teams. Toronto's been around forever. The reason why they won a championship was because Kawhi Leonard had an issue with the San Antonio Spurs, and so he left. And then they had a really solid team anyway. And then you put on Kawhi, and then you win it.
Yeah,
Then
you
with the
need
San
you need
Antonio
that.
Spurs, David Robinson was actually injured the previous year, and
Mhm.
they had a losing record, and they
To
were
get
able to get the number one pick in the draft. And so there's certain stipulations and circumstances that have caused this. But at the end of the day, if we look at these teams, San Antonio, right, is the only outside of San Antonio. Then you have the Golden State Warriors, which you could say is that a really a major squad. It can be in terms of
And they
LA.
just talking about city.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
they're in
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, they were in
Well, I say that California area. Okay, the
Mhm.
California area. Are they really a major team? No. You know what I'm saying? But they're like a mid-major.
Mhm.
But I guess what I'm saying is that um, it really makes this championship special when you have a team that's not a super team that didn't draft, that didn't have the number one picks that the San Antonio Spurs had, that
Mhm.
didn't have the LeBron James going back to Cleveland, or LeBron, you know what I'm saying, or didn't have the Warriors with Kevin Durant winning
Mhm.
a championship. This year, it was Giannis, it was
Middleton.
Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, who, these guys, people 6, 7 years ago, they didn't think that they would be in this position. When Giannis was drafted, yeah, he had
Potential.
promise,
Mhm.
but he took some time to develop. Chris Middleton is what I call the most inconsistent all-star of all time. Some nights he shows up, some nights he does. Drew Holiday, he's a very solid player. This is why this championship was so incredible, because you don't see it. I mean, we look at the teams that won. People celebrated this playoff because the small market teams were doing it. I mean, Atlanta hadn't won a championship since 1958. Okay, and so I just think it's tougher for the small market teams, which is why when Zion Williamson, when he was like, well, I'm already having issues with the city, Zion's like, man, if the best player on the team is already having issues in his second season on the team, I might need to potentially get out, move in with Levine, got DeMar DeRozan coming in. Okay, that's a solid team. Are they
Yeah.
going to win anything? We got to see what happens with the rest of it. Right now, of course, it looks like the East is really stacked, and I'm
It's gonna be
liking the
fun.
way
It's
that.
gonna be fun. There's no clear cut. I mean, well, I don't want to say there's no
Yeah,
clear
wait.
cut. There is a clear cut with the Nets, but
I wouldn't say there's a clear cut. There's a I'm gonna because as great as the Nets are, they're number two on
behind
my list. They're number two. They're not number one. The Bucks gotta be number one in terms because look, they did it. They did it. The
no,
Nets.
it's not, I'm not taking anything away from them. They did no, they did it. But if I'm ranking them, I'm not taking anybody. And they are, and let's be clear, they're a toe away from not being there.
It don't. But I mean, it don't matter. I mean, like you. Do you see?
Right?
Do you see the movie Glory Road? You see the movie Glory Road?
I probably did. It sound.
There
It's
was a there was a brother. They had a guy who was the best player who faced Texas Western. The
Mhm.
man shot a three and won the game, but he stepped out of bounds.
Mhm.
Nobody don't talk about that. They talk, oh, he stepped out, shot the three, won the game. Oh, no, he stepped out. Texas Western went on to win a championship.
Right, but
I mean, like,
we gotta be, yeah, but we have to be, I think we have to be realistic.
Well, I mean,
because
shoot,
of
Michael
how
Jordan
beginning.
pushed off the guy. It should have been a foul in 1998. That was a foul. The guy pushed him off. That could have been an offensive foul, but they didn't call it on Jordan. So we can't do that. They won the champion. Look, at the end of the day, if
And
the Nets were
nobody's
supposed to
taking
do
away
it,
the
if the
championship.
Nets,
I
if the
just
Nets
said,
were supposed to do it, how come? And look, we all know Kevin Durant was tired.
nah,
Okay,
I'm not even giving him. I'm not even saying that.
but you know what? And we could say that they were a toe away.
Mm-hmm.
They had a chance in overtime, and they didn't do it. That's the fact.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do it. So I mean, I look at it from that perspective. And another thing for the Nets, they've only played like 20, 25 games together from a health perspective. So I can't say that the Nets are the best team and they're the most likely to win a championship if their group as a trio has played more than 20 games. I just can't do it.
Well, you know why? You know why you can't? You know why you can't do it? Because before the Heat stepped on the floor, they were the favorite when they got LeBron and Bosh and Wade.
Did they win that year? Did they win that year?
But they were the favorite. It doesn't matter if they win. We're just talking about the favorite. Anything can happen. It's
but
not
they were all
healthy.
But the difference between the Heat and the Nets was
the
difference was the health.
Right, but at any point in time, we don't know what's going to happen. So if you're asking me, hey,
and the energy's not there.
Okay,
Alex,
so let me ask you a question. Are you betting the house? Are you betting everything you got right now on the Bucks?
Of course not. But I'm not betting on the Nets.
I don't want to say
I'm not betting the house on the Nets.
Oh, I'm
not betting that. Look, I would never bet on the house on the Nets because look, the Heat when they did that, that was the biggest hype in all sports. Period. It don't matter. It was the biggest hype. The Nets, because they've been injured, they don't have the same hype. Yeah, they can be the quote unquote consensus because of their talent.
That's all. Yeah, that's it. That's what we're talking about.
But we can't do that because championships aren't just based on talent.
They're not. But no. But if you're talking about who am I going to the season? Who am I saying is going? Who would I pick? Let's just say that. Who am I picking? Like it'll be like who are you picking? And let's just since this is coming up more recent, it's like who are you picking to go to the Super Bowl again? Everybody's picking the Bucks on the NFC side, and everybody's picking KFC on the AFC side because of who the talent is on the team.
And what they've done. And what they've done. Right. So my consistency. So you asked me a question. Mm-hmm. Do I bet the house on? You call my bluff. I'm gonna answer it. I'm picking the Bucks. They're my consensus number one. Okay, they're my consensus number one because they've done it. They've proven it. Until the Nets prove otherwise, and it's not just what they do in the regular season, it's what they do in the playoffs. It doesn't okay, because obviously they're going to show out in the playoffs. What are they going to do when it really matters? That's what I want to see. And obviously they have championship caliber players on the Nets, but they also have players who don't have the same championship caliber, who have burned out in those moments. A la James Harden, even though he's one of the best players and one of the greatest scorers of all time, he has fallen in those areas. Blake Griffin, as great of a player as he is from a regular season player, he's a great player from the offensive side. But look, he's not. What has he done in the playoffs? He's a high flyer. He's a dunker. He honestly, in my opinion, Blake Griffin is a guy who I really liked in college. And I feel like he could have even been a bigger star than what he is, but he's a good player. But I'm not picking the Nets. They're not healthy enough for me, and they haven't proven it. They have not proven enough to be that number one to me because it depends on the body of work. The body of work says, "Hey, look, they lost in the semifinals." Mm-hmm. They lost in the semifinals.
So who you want to go to next? What team do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers.
All right, so let's talk about the Lakers.
We talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. I was just wanting to know if you wanted to add something in. No.
I was looking at. I was trying to find the right list I needed to see so I could see each move.
I want to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers because we could go all day with all the lists because there's some of the numbers that some of these players are getting is just incredible. Alex Caruso getting $37 million and the man averaged 6 points a game. I know he's a high flyer and high dunker, but geez, man, these brothers are getting banged. Oh my goodness.
I mean, but that's only 9 million. Yeah.
No wonder people just want look. No wonder be like, man, be a doctor. People like, what do you want to be? Be a ball player, make 37 million, average 6 points a game, or be a doctor? They're like, I want to be a ball player. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta do something about this. We gotta get doctors some more money. We gotta get teachers some more money. This I understand it from an entertainment standpoint, but gee whiz, man, brothers getting way too much. They're like, man, we just gotta be entertaining. We gotta be a ball player, because like that's where all the money is. There's gotta be more of a, you know, of inclusive, not exclusive in terms of wealth. But anyway, the Los Angeles Lakers, they are, in my opinion, the true last dance. You know, Michael Jordan, he had the last dance in 1998. We saw the last year that he won a championship with the Chicago Bulls. But when you look at the roster of the Los Angeles Lakers, you know that they are on their last leg. Every player, I mean, they got like 9 to 10 players that are over the age of 32. 37 for Carmelo Anthony, 36 for LeBron. They got another player, Marcus, I believe he's 35 years old. Yep. They got Trevor Ariza, he's in his 30s plus.
36. He's 36.
He's 36 as well. And so it's like they really are the one last dance. This is the year that the Lakers are really saying, look, we're trying to win the championship because this might be the last one. Yep. And I honestly think from a legacy standpoint, right, LeBron James knows, you see, not all championships are created equally. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people would disagree with me in this. That's why people have had this whole conversation about Giannis having a greater legacy than Kevin Durant. That's ridiculous to me. But anyway, we can talk about that later. But the fact that LeBron won the previous year in the bubble and it wasn't highly ranked and there wasn't a lot of people, it's that championship doesn't hold up the same way this Giannis championship. The feeling of it, the joy of it, the legacy of it. Yeah, he won a chip as a Laker. Yeah, he's won 4 championships. But I know from a legacy standpoint, LeBron James is looking at it from a business standpoint, from a legacy standpoint. He's like, look, we gotta go in and win another one. We gotta bring in all my homeboys. And if LeBron had his way, he would have signed Chris Paul too. He would have had Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony, everybody. He might have had Dwayne Wade come back from TNT and be the shooting guard from the bench. Like, this is what is happening in Los Angeles. I am curious to see what they will do. But they got a lot. They need some fresh legs because, like, I mean, they to me, it's built up like a playoff team, but I just wonder about the legs of some of these players in terms of the regular season. But they've been there before. They've been here before. So what are your thoughts on the Los Angeles Lakers, from the Trevor Arizas to Carmelo Anthony's to the Marc Gasols? What are your thoughts on the Los Angeles Lakers?
I like what they did. I think the Lakers did the best that they could do with what they had. They didn't have any cap space. They were hamstrung by LeBron's contract and Anthony Davis's contract, and they had no more pieces to really trade. Kuzma was really the only tradable piece that they had, and I thought they had a decision to make. They had one move to make. They had the one move that they were going to make with Kuzma and KCP and whoever else went in that deal. I can't remember else, but those are the key pieces that went in that deal. They had a decision to make. Either Buddy Hield, excellent shooter, cannot create his own shot, but an excellent shooter. And what was the number one thing everybody said the Lakers were missing last year? They were missing shooting. So they had a choice between Buddy Hield from Sacramento or Brody, Russell Westbrook. And I think LeBron, because I'm assuming it kind of came down to him and what he thought he could do with the team, whether it be Buddy Hield or whether it be Brody, and he chose Russell. And I think he chose Russell because, you know what? If I choose Russell, I no longer have to handle the ball. I can play off ball. And if there's nights that I need to sit down, this guy's going to be on the court and he's coming 200% every night. And he could create plays where Buddy Hield and those cannot. Now, and I think also LeBron is saying, everybody looks at Russell Westbrook, oh, he's a wild child, he's a wild child. Russell Westbrook is like, no, I'll tame the Black Stallion. Don't worry about that. Just get him here. We'll get on the same page. I believe that's what he said. That's what he's got to be saying. Because we've seen Russell. We've seen Russell with Kevin Durant on the court. Right? We've seen that where he's taking last shots. He may have not made the right decision. I believe LeBron has had to say to himself, in order for him to say yes, bring Westbrook, he has to have his mind saying, I'm gonna get with this kid. Well, I don't want to say kid because he's not a kid, but I'm gonna get with Russ. We gonna get on the same page. We gonna get in the gym. I know this guy is all about winning. Period, point blank. And I know he got heart. And I know what he's capable of doing. And if I get him with me and I say, hey, this is how we need to play this game, I think that I'm going to be able to tame the Black Stallion to where he plays under more control and is more efficient on the floor. That's the only thing I can come with. I'm not saying it's going to work, but I'm just saying that had to go into the decision making because, like I said, they could have gotten elite shooting from Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is a very, very, very good mid-range shooter and an excellent three-point shooter. And he's a wing. And I think they said, and LeBron said, you know what? Get me Brody. That takes me off the ball. I don't have to bring the ball up anymore. I don't have to play point guard. I got a guy that can do that. I just need to tame him and show him how he can now play with me and AD, and we get used to each other. That's the one thing. And I like all the other pieces. I'll wrap it up with this. I like all the other pieces they brought in. Kent Bazemore, Wayne Ellington, Melo. Right. These are all shooters. Bazemore's a shooter. Ellington's a shooter. Carmelo's a shooter. Ariza is a three
defender.
He's an older player, but he's an original 3-and-D player. These guys are all shooters. They brought in rim protectors with Howard and Gasol because obviously
Gasol's not really a rim
well, he can. Gasol is another one. He's an old defensive player of the year, but he knows how to rim protect. And he also has a three, similar to Brook Lopez. If I could just kind of put that in your head, just to kind of mesh the two. I'm not saying the same player, but Gasol's also developed the three in a sense as well. So
maybe I'm sleeping on Marc Gasol.
No, you're not. He's not going to be this big. He's not going to be this big contributor at all. Yeah. He's going to give you maybe 12 minutes a night, and that's really just sparing AD from playing the five because I think their goal lineup is going to be Brody, Braun, AD, and I think AD is going to have to play the five. I think Braun will be at the four, per se. I know it's positionless, but I'm just giving them positions for now. I think you'll get Melo at the three. This is their goal when they want people on the floor to score and do things, and I think you'll get Ariza, and you're going to have Brody. That'll be their five. That's what I think. It could change. I don't know. But that's the five that I think will be on the floor when it's closeout time because they can all shoot threes, Brody aside. But you get that pressure that he's going to put on the defense that's going to suck that defense in and leave those perimeters open to get those open shots from Melo, from Ariza, and from those. So that's my thing. And like I said, people have been saying this about that. Listen, the Lakers had one move. That's all they had. It's not like they had cap space to bring in a whole bunch. And not to mention, there's still that chance that Schroeder can come back because they have his bird rights, so they can sign him. And he could be on the team as well. And he's another guy. If his mind is right, he can shoot, and he's another ball handler.
I mean, Schroeder wants $100 million.
He won't get it because
that's something that's interesting to me. You know,
he's not gonna get it. If he's not getting it on, he would have got it already. If he was going to.
That's true. That's true.
Right now, him and Dinwiddie are two guys that said we want these big $100 million contracts, and the market has told them you're not worth that. We're not paying that. That's why you haven't heard Dinwiddie's name, and we can talk about him later, and you haven't heard Schroeder's name attached to anybody because nobody's paying.
Who'd you say? Who was the second guy you said?
Dinwiddie, Spencer Dinwiddie from the Nets. Remember?
Spencer Dinwiddie. Okay.
Right. Because teams are saying we're not paying you max money or whatever the max money is for their level of player that they are. So they're not gonna get $100 million. So you're gonna have to come back to these respective teams with your tail between your legs and take the $70 million or whatever it is the Lakers are offering and vice versa for Dinwiddie. But to just focus on Lakers, that's my feeling on Lakers. I like what they did. It was the only thing that they could do. There was nothing. And they also have Markieff Morris. I forgot. I think Markieff Morris is still there.
I think he's trying to sign somewhere else.
Oh, okay, then maybe
But
he's trying to sign someplace.
but I'll just add this too, because we could talk about Dinwiddie, because I actually have some points on the Los Angeles Lakers. But my only thing with Dinwiddie is Dinwiddie should have probably left. He should have tried to force a trade or something.
He couldn't. Remember, he tore his Achilles. So
you know what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that Spencer Dinwiddie, before KD was there, before Kyrie was there, the Nets, they had that thing about them, that edge. You know, when the Clippers, when they were supposed to win a year or two ago, they had this edge about them. You know what team had that? For the people listening, it was the Brooklyn Nets. They had that edge about them. They had those players who were cut from a different cloth. They had the players who kind of were rejected around the league, and they went to this Brooklyn Nets team. And that Brooklyn Nets team, obviously, it wasn't a championship team, but it was something.
Made the playoffs. Solid.
You know what I'm saying? You had not Jordan Clarkson. You had D'Angelo Russell, who, you know, everybody knows what happened with him in terms of the Los Angeles Lakers and him exposing his, you know, Nick Young. You know what I mean? Like, players not. I'm serious. Like, people.
No, I'm laughing because you're right. I'm just laughing.
You know what I mean? Like,
you
know what I mean? So it's like you got players who kind of like have been in and out of the league, and that Nets team was special. And Dinwiddie was a part of that. Dinwiddie was a part of that team where he was that guy who was doing his thing. But unfortunately, we live in an era in basketball with this 24-hour news cycle where everything is recency bias. And so people are devaluing Spencer Dinwiddie because he has been injured, because he hasn't had the same amount of playing time that he did, because he's a part of a super team and he's not the guy. He's not the guy that he once was on the Brooklyn Nets team. So it's not the fact that he isn't talented. I think that people, there's this recency bias that even the ownerships and the general managers have. And they said, what have you done? That song with Janet Jackson said, what have you done for me lately? And that's what they're saying. And so, honestly,
if he wasn't injured, I would say this: if Dinwiddie didn't get injured and he played this year, even if he just averaged his normal 10 points because he would be on that type of team, he would still get 90 to 100 million. He would have still, if he was healthy. This is all about his health. Nobody's going to give a long-term deal to a guard who depends on his legs the way that he does. And what he did when he was averaging that year, he averaged 20 points because he averaged 20 points while Kyrie was there. They're not going to give him that long-term deal. He's a guy similar to Victor Oladipo. You're going to get a one-year prove-it deal, and if you show us that you're healthy, then we'll give you a long-term deal. That's where he's sitting at. It's not because he can't play. He could ball. The GMs are saying, why would I tie up, let's just say 80 million, let's just say 85 million, the same amount that Lonzo got. I'm not going to tie up 85 million in a player that I don't know is going to be able to give me at least 65, let's just say 65, at least give me 65 plus games a year. That's a problem for teams. That's a problem for teams that would have brought him in because he would look great in with the Pelicans. At least I think so. I thought he would look great with the Pelicans. But it's like, I can't count on you because I don't know what you're going to look like. You're not Kevin Durant where I'm going to take that chance and have you sit out a year or whatever it is and think because you're that great. He's not that level of player that he gets the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and I think that he would have averaged more because this year, if he were healthy, he would have averaged more than 10 points.
I just said 10, because everybody got hurt. I was just saying, in the grand scheme, he would probably average about 10 to 12 maybe and stuff like that, been a spark off the bench. In the grand scheme, if everybody was healthy with that.
Right. In terms of the Lakers, and we talked about on this podcast before, and I argue with you, and I talked to some, basketball experts in terms of who they rather have, Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook, and I'll choose Russell Westbrook. I don't care about all that. People disagree with me, that's fine. I love Russell Westbrook's aggression. I love his style. He's a guy. He's got this Kobe mentality. He's got this Jordan mentality. He just doesn't have the same shooting percentage. He can't shoot the same way. But he's got that feel to him, that thing about him. But when I first looked at this trade, or this trade signing deal, I wasn't as into it at first because I'm like, well, how do they fit? How are they going to pass the ball? And then I thought about it and I said, well, I know everybody's talking about putting LeBron at the 3 or LeBron at the 4. In my opinion, watching LeBron James, we obviously know he's one of the greatest scorers of all time. And he could have been the greatest scorer of all time if he wasn't a pass first player. But at the end of the day, LeBron James is a pass first forward. I remember there was a play where Kentavious Caldwell Pope, he was open for a 3 and LeBron was directing him, boom, and then passed it to Kentavious. Kentavious was wide open for a 3, but he was scared, and then he passed it to Dennis Schroeder, who shot the 3 and missed it. LeBron went all the way to the corner and said, yo, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. And then he went up to him and inspired him. He said, I need you to shoot that basketball. That's the player that LeBron James is. I'm not sure Kobe would have done that. I'm not sure if Michael would have done that. Michael would have said, or Kobe would have said potentially, give me the rock. Don't shoot, give me the rock. You know what I mean? So I just think that's not a slight on Kobe or Michael. That's just who they were as killers in terms of scoring the basketball. LeBron James to me is a pass first guard. He's similar to Magic Johnson, and he's up there in age. And if you let Russell Westbrook be the second option, the way that I see it is kind of like the way Chris Broussard did it in terms of saying, hey, look, Russell Westbrook and AD will be a huge focal point in terms of the offense. Obviously, LeBron James is going to get him. He can be a 20 points per game scorer just like that, even at 36, 37 years old. But Russell Westbrook can be that person who we know has had an immense amount of success in the regular season. LeBron James scales back, becomes the point guard, becomes more pass first, and then when the playoffs hits, Russell Westbrook, and it could be tough for a player to shut down this, but if Russell Westbrook wants to win, which is what the question really is what does Russell Westbrook really care about? We know that he loves to play with his heart and soul, but how much does championships matter to him? I don't think from a legacy standpoint.
I think winning matters to that kid.
I think it matters, but I also think that Russell would be the type of player who would be content with not winning it. In terms of, I think so, but I'm not saying that he's not a winner. Obviously, he's a winner.
Yeah, I know.
But what I'm saying is that I think that him not winning a championship wouldn't be as devastating as it would be to Chris Paul. Chris Paul, to me, it would be more so of like, oh man, they're not going to say that I'm top 5 of all time because I didn't win a championship. They're not going to say that, you know what I'm saying? Like he to me, Chris Paul wants to be that guy who holds a championship on his team. Russell Westbrook to me has always been that outsider, that person who people didn't see to be successful. They said, oh, we don't know how good he's going to be, but he kind of went through the mud. I'm not saying Chris Paul didn't go through the mud, but not like Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook went through the mud. And the fact that he can probably look at even if he didn't win a championship, he can look back at his career and say, look what I did in the league. Look at the impact that I made. Look at the numbers that I made. I think Russell Westbrook, I think he looks at things differently, whether he wins a championship or not. But I do believe that this LeBron James situation can work if LeBron James is more of a point in the regular season. And then when the playoffs hit, LeBron James is still the point, but he's more of a focal point, and Russell Westbrook can kind of fall back a little bit, only because Russell Westbrook, from a numbers perspective and from a win perspective, isn't as successful in the playoffs as he is in the regular season.
Yeah, he's probably burnt out, like you're saying, similar to James Harden, just burnt out because everything is on me. Everything has been on me. But the difference is when Harden evolved into the Harden that we know, it truly was on him. Whereas Westbrook was still playing with KD. Russell Westbrook was still playing with Reggie Jackson and KD. And that's why I think this move is more about LeBron believing that him and Russ can get together and he could help make Russ a more efficient player. Not just coming down the court, taking an erratic shot. No, pass the ball first. Let's run this set. Let's set this up so that we get the best shot. So this is really where I think coaching is going to matter. Who's the guy they just brought in? Who's the guy that the Lakers just added to their coaching staff? Because I think I'm a person that always thinks that coaching doesn't matter that much in basketball. I know it matters, but here and there, and if you got LeBron or whatever, you just, hey man, set this up. What you want to do? But There's a guy that they brought in. I can't think of it. When Jason
David Fitzgerald will join the
thank you.
coaching
That's the
staff.
guy I was thinking of. I couldn't think of his name. Him. I think you get somebody like him, somebody that's young, vibrant, that could get with Westbrook and get with LeBron and say, yo, this is how we're going to run this. This is how we're going to set this up. And plus, LeBron has a rigid off-season schedule that he's in the gym all the time. He's in LA. Russ is home in LA because that's where he's from and that's where his home is when he goes home. So they'll be able to get together. Space Jam is done. We don't have to worry about that no more. He can get together with Russ over, and that's we don't know what it's going to look like. We know what Russell Westbrook is. We know Russ. I think this is more about LeBron saying, I can connect with Russ and say, yo, bro, I can show you how we can win the championship. And Russ buy, and it's about LeBron convincing Russ to buy in to what they want to do. And then having it show up on the court. And again, to your point, like I was saying before as well, I think also Russ takes LeBron off the ball. Because remember, LeBron was the point guard. He was bringing the ball up. He was doing it. He had to do set up the entire offense. With somebody like Russ there, he can save his legs and not have to be that guy running the point at all times or setting up the offense or really just do it at the end of games. You know what I'm saying? When it's critical moments and when they got to do, he can be the one to set it up and let Russ do what he does when it's like time. Okay, I need to take 2 games off. Russ, go crazy. Do what you normally do. You got the green light. We ain't giving you the yellow. You got the green light. Go do what you do. I'm taking 2 games off. Go rock out. Do you?
Yeah,
And he ain't gonna average no triple double this year. We know that much.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to average. I think it depends on where they put him from because if he's at the point, then he might be able to average a triple double.
Nah, I don't think he won't have. If he averages a triple double, then the Lakers not winning nothing.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. For me, I prefer if he's not the point guard, then he's not going to average a triple double, and he shouldn't even want to average. But if he is the point guard, that's another thing. But I want LeBron. I want the ball to be in LeBron's hands. Because I think
it will be. It will be.
You know what I mean? That's what I want from that perspective. But I want to talk about this thing that's been this. I don't even know how to phrase it. I'm just gonna go out and say it. Kendrick Perkins from ESPN, and yeah, he was a NBA player, a really great high school player, a good college player, and a solid NBA player in terms of being in the league. He was a man who's been in the league for several years. He's been on ESPN, and he's got this charismatic ability that's unique and different. You know what I'm saying? He's like somebody's uncle at the cookout. Talking. Yeah. But he comes up with these takes sometimes that that a lot of people actually are agreeing with and not vehemently disagree. They say, which legacy is greater? Kevin Durant's championship, not just championships, but Kevin Durant's legacy versus Giannis's legacy. And they say, well, Giannis has at 26 a better legacy than Kevin Durant does at 31, 32 years old. And before you even get a chance to respond, I just want to say, I think that is utter blasphemy, utter foolishness, and recency bias bull. Okay. Like Kevin Durant is one of the greatest offensive players of all time. He is arguably in the same conversation as Michael Jordan, as Kobe Bryant, as a player who you cannot stop. The only players who could stop Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Kevin Durant when their mindset is, I'm taking over this game, is themselves. Period, point blank. Don't tell me about Giannis until, look, at the end of the day, people could say, look, Giannis, what he did this year was special. It was incredible. I like Giannis. I like his game. I think he's a great basketball player. I believe he's got the ability to have a great basketball career and be one of the top 20 greatest players of all time, potentially. Sure, we can give him that. We can give him that in the future. But when we're talking about a person in Kevin Durant who if we just look at the numbers, if we look at the 20 plus seasons, if we look at the MVPs, when we look at the championships, even, I know that they don't carry the same weight as the Giannis championship. Like, let's just be honest about something. Kevin Durant is just on another level. Giannis is in the top conversation. You know what? Giannis is in the top 3 conversation right now. Kevin Durant is in the top 2025 conversation right now in NBA history. Okay. And another thing, you know who stopped Giannis 2 years ago? A 6'7" forward named Kawhi Leonard.
Oh.
Named Kawhi Leonard. Tell me if Shaq would have let a 6'7" guard stop him. Now, granted, I do know that Dennis Rodman got him, but Dennis Rodman was bigger than Kawhi Leonard, and he was taller. Okay, and that's, you know what I'm saying? So I do understand that Dennis Rodman, and that's why he's in the Hall of Fame, because he's, for one, when Draymond said he was the greatest player.
My favorite player.
No, you're not. Dennis Rodman is way better than you. But anyway,
my all-time favorite player, Dennis Rodman.
Anyway, Kawhi Leonard at 6'7". I know that Toronto created the wall, and Giannis didn't struggle, but and it wasn't just Kawhi, but Kawhi had a lot to do with stopping Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Shaq, he couldn't have done that to Shaq. I do not care what anybody says about that. Shaq would have bodied that man. He would have dunked on him, and then he would have pushed him. He would have laughed at him. He said, "You letting this brother guard me? Get this barbecue chicken. Get this barbecue chicken. Stop disrespect. Come on now. Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stop with this recency bias." Alex, what's your take on it? I don't know. I was about to blow a gasket because everybody's saying, "Oh my goodness."
I think. Well, I listened to it. I heard it, but I didn't react to it because I saw. When I say I saw a picture of his face and I saw the quote. So when you get quotes, you know we live in this social media small bite world. So I wanted to hear everything in context because I saw everybody reacting to it. But I was like, well, let me find the clip and let me watch it. So after I watched the clip, I went back because I'm in a sports group on Facebook where we're always talking crap. And I said, because a lot of people said exactly what you said. And I said, I think you guys are relating it when he said that. I think what people interpreted as him saying that Giannis was better than Durant. And that's not what he said. He said his legacy is better. Now, one thing I'll correct you on, you can't go to MVPs because Giannis has more MVPs than Durant. Because you said
Giannis doesn't have two. Does Giannis have 2 MVPs?
Giannis has 2 MVPs. Giannis won the MVP back-to-back in 19 and 20. He won them back-to-back. So the thing about what I think he was just really speaking to, and why I didn't call it recency bias, he was talking more to the fact that Perkins played on that team with he played on he was there. Perkins played on that team with, and I think we said this before, that OKC team had Russ, Higdon, Durant, Ibaka, and Perkins. Mm-hmm. That was a championship squad back then. Even though Higdon isn't the Higdon that we knew now, he was still a dope player. He was still 20 points, 16, 17, 18, about 18 points off the bench. He was still a baller. He just, you're not going to get what you get. You're not going to get that Higdon on that team because Durant and Brody's on that team. So you just weren't going to get that. And he wasn't a starter. He was off the bench. That's a championship team. And I think Perkins is looking back at that and saying, And then he's looking at, you went to Golden State, and then you went to the Nets. And he's looking at that, and then he's looking at, because this is the legacy, because that's all part of your legacy. You jumping around. Mm-hmm. And he said, because the same thing was said about LeBron. People stopped saying that about LeBron when he
won the championship in Cleveland.
Went back to Cleveland and won. Mm-hmm. At a disadvantage that when people said you're not going to beat, and he came back from down 3. So that cemented his legacy within the people, even though it was already cemented before, that cemented his legacy. So what he's talking about is really saying that Giannis stuck it out. He believed in himself. And let's be clear, Giannis is the one that said, I'm staying here. I'm re-signing here. He had a chance to leave and go anywhere he wanted to. He said, I'm going to stay here because I believe in the team that we have. This is no different than Joe Namath saying we're going to win it and then doing it, which is why Joe Namath was a terrible quarterback, but he's a legend. Because
wait.
wait. Let me finish my point, then let's go to that. So I think that's what Perkins was looking at. He was like, this guy decided to stay there and win it with a second round pick and Chris Middleton. Don't play it, but I'm just making a point. He was a second round pick. And they made a critical trade piece in bringing in Rue Holiday, who to me was the catalyst, was really who's the team MVP. He wasn't the MVP of the finals, but if the team had to vote for MVP, I believe they would all, Giannis included, would vote for Rue for the job he did on Chris Paul that really helped shut down that offense, that the Phoenix Suns. But I think that's what he's really speaking to. He did it in the era of super teams when people were, the quote unquote super teams, when people were getting together, because some people will tell you that Milwaukee's a super team because that's 3 all-stars.
No, it's not.
It's not the super team that is Higdon, Durant.
It's not a super team.
Yeah, but there's that argument. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is. I said some people
They're wrong.
will argue it. And they have basis for it. I just don't, it's not big enough for me to care about. But right. I think that's what Perkins was speaking to, that this guy said, I'm going to stay in Milwaukee. I'm going to stay in this small town. I'm a top 5 player in this league. I'm staying here, and I'm going to win a championship for this city. And when you do something like that, and you stay in that small town, the Bucks could go 0-82 for the rest of his time. He's a legend for everybody in this era. That's what he was speaking to. And that's why I didn't kill him for it, because I said, I understand what you're saying. I may not agree, but I think there's perspective to what he was saying when he said that. Once I heard the clip in full context, I had to hear it in full context, as opposed to seeing his face in those words, because I was like, what? And I think that's what, and I'm really relating this to people I was talking to online. They were like, nah, he's not better. No, it's not. He didn't say he was better than Kevin Durant. He said that his legacy. So I get it. I get it. And he's not better than Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant has a great legacy, but I understood the perspective that he was with the point he was trying to make there. So that's why I didn't kill him for that.
There's a difference between, to me, there's a difference between you having a great legacy and then someone's just flat out celebrating your legacy. Like, Bill Russell has a greater legacy in terms of winning than Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan's legacy is more celebrated. Right. Because of the way that Jordan did it, because of the sneakers, because he did it in Chicago, because of there was a lot of factors that made Michael Jordan the GOAT.
Not to cut you, but I think the only reason I think, and not to cut you, it's not about Bill or Mike. I think it was the times. Like back then, they didn't get to see Bill Russell. Like we saw Michael Jordan consistently. So I think that might have boosted him up. He's not greater, but I think that boosted him up.
And I get that, but my point is this. My point is the same in terms of we look at. So I believe that, but I get what you're saying in terms of, yeah, we didn't see, but at the end of the day, we celebrate Michael Jordan in the way that he did it versus the way that Bill Russell does it. And yeah, you could say that we didn't see, but a lot of people in that era, I mean, look, I listen to guys like you talk about how great Michael Jordan was, and I respect that. And so like, I'm not, and I know there were guys your age who listened to older gentlemen who said the same thing about Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. So the respect is there, but we celebrate things differently based on the significance of that time. Michael Jordan wasn't just great because he put a ball through a hoop. Michael Jordan was great because of the sneakers. Michael Jordan was put in position to be a great player in terms of the refs and in terms of Jordan rules, like there was a lot of things that made Jordan the GOAT in a lot of people's eyes. In terms of the Giannis and KD situation, in terms of legacy, will Giannis's legacy be celebrated more than Kevin Durant? Absolutely, because a lot of people don't like Kevin Durant. People don't like Kevin Durant because the way he's talked to the media. People don't like Kevin Durant because of the quote unquote, because of the burner accounts. People don't like Kevin Durant because of him leaving the way he did, the way he lost 3-1 against the Warriors, and then the next year he signed when Draymond Green called him up and said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, we can't beat LeBron. Come join us. We could be the real team, the Avengers. Avengers assemble." But look, I'm gonna, and that was a little shot at Draymond, but Draymond, he's a good player. But anyway, I think there's a difference between celebration of legacy and what actually is great legacy. And it's not a shot at Giannis, because obviously Giannis's legacy will always be remembered, and it will be celebrated more than Kevin Durant's in terms of the way that he did it, the way how Giannis interacts with the media, the way he's very friendly. He's from another country. He's got an accent. Whereas Kevin Durant, for me, it's a body of work that's on the court. And that's so, like, we talk about celebration of legacy. Yeah, Giannis will be celebrated more. But if we're talking about legacy compared to legacy, let's look at the body of work. That's what legacy is, the body of work of what they've done. And the fact of the matter is that when Kevin Durant was in this league, when he entered, the day he entered the draft, he was already top 15 player in the league. Top 15, top 10 potentially. The brother was averaging 20 points per game as a rookie, and he's averaged 20 points per game, 20 plus since he's been in the league. Giannis has not done that. It took Giannis time to develop to be that. Kevin Durant's body of work, hands down, is better from a shooting perspective, from a winning perspective. So if we're talking about celebration of legacy, I agree with what's the brother's name who I just mentioned, Kendrick Perkins, in terms of celebration of legacy. But if we're talking about who's got the greatest legacy in terms of on the basketball court, like talent, in terms of scoring, it's KD hands down. But what makes Giannis so special is the fact that Shaq vouched for him, called him the new Superman. That the fact that he's from Greece, the fact that he's a fan favorite. He's a fan favorite. He's somebody who's kind. He's nice. He talks with the media. You know what I mean? Like Barry Bonds would be in the Hall of Fame if he was nice to the media. I'm serious. He'd be in the Hall of Fame.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying don't get me started on
You know what I mean? And so it's just like it's these things that matter, because and I'm not saying that the media doesn't have a place, because obviously the media has a huge influence on basketball or on sports in general or in life in general. And so shout out to the media for that. But the media there also is bad sides to the media in the way that they influence people, in the way they train people to think and to fear in certain things. The job for the media is to educate, is to tell the truth. And a lot of times the media doesn't always tell the truth. They tell what they want you to know. Like, same thing. I feel like in a lot of ways, the media trained people to believe that Michael Jordan was the GOAT. I personally believe that in terms of the shoe deal, in terms of what he did in the 90s. But what did he do in the 80s? He didn't win nothing in the 80s. Yeah, of course, he didn't have the same team and whatnot. But at the end of the day, he didn't win, in my opinion, in the greatest decade of basketball. But we don't say that. We say, oh, well, look what he did in the 90s. And he was leading the league in scoring in the 80s. But he wasn't doing nothing. That was Larry Bird's league. That was Magic Johnson's league.
I'll challenge you on that. And the reason I challenge you on that is the same reason that people boost Curry up that list is because Michael Jordan came in and changed the game. It was a big man's game before Michael Jordan touched the floor.
But the NBA made it that way. The NBA made it that way in terms of the fact that they already in this third year, there were already teammates who were saying, hey, the media is already saying you're the GOAT. Look up the interviews that John Sally did.
They had never seen that before.
They had seen it before, but that's the difference. Michael Jordan looked up to a player that went to North Carolina State. What's the brother's name? David Thompson. Like we've seen players. Elgin Baylor. If you watch I'm serious. If you watch the tape of Elgin Baylor, if you watch the tape of David Thompson, like there have been players who've had that similar skill set. Obviously, it might not have been the same skill set, but we've seen it. Michael Jordan, the shoe deal, the fact that they were already saying he went to North Carolina, all these things, like a lot of it, the Jordan rules,
Mhm.
a lot of it, Jordan had help in terms of him being the great, being the
Right,
greatest of
but I
all
think
time.
I think you missing. You still skipping over. You skipped over that like that's light. It was a big man's game. If you had to have a big man, a dominant big man in order to win. That's what the game was built around. You didn't build your team from the back to the front. You build your team from the front to the back. When Jordan came in, they built that team from the front, from the back to the. Am I saying that right? Yeah, to the front court. I'm sorry, they built it from the back court to the front court. That's what I'm trying to say.
Guys,
They
yeah.
built the team. They built the team differently. It wasn't centered around you got to have this big guy, this big in the middle that's going to be there defensive. That's how the game was built. So when you talk about Bill Russell and those guys, and as you matriculate through, it's not about Bill Russell, but I'm just saying it because you said it. When you talk about that and you go up the list, it was built around the big man. And the Bulls came in with Michael Jordan and changed the entire way that the game was played. It's just like you don't get the guards that come out if Michael Jordan. You don't get Kobe if you don't get Michael.
I just disagree with that because
Now you don't because you have to say that.
We've seen the Dr. J's. We've seen the Dr. J's.
You've
We've
seen
seen the David Thompson. We've seen there have been guards
the
who've
team
done it.
wasn't built right, but the team wasn't. It's not about we haven't seen it.
They were built like that, but they just weren't winning.
No, even if they won, because Jerry West won as a shooting guard. The team wasn't built. Jerry West was a great player, but the team
but
Jerry West.
The teams that were built around Jerry West, that's actually adds to my point in terms of there have been guards who actually were stars of the team that won championships.
No, he wasn't a star. Will Chamberlain was there. What I'm saying is that
Will Chamberlain, no, that was let's just be honest about it. That was Jerry West's team. That was not.
No, it was Jerry West's team.
Player. Will Chamberlain was a player who was going to different teams. Right. But that was just like we talk about Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Really, in all honesty, that was Will Chamberlain. He was there and he was a strong part of that. But he was on the later end of his career. He was still one of the best players in the league. But that was Jerry West's team. You know, that was Jerry West's team. You know, there have been teams that have had guards. They might not have won championships. The guards. That's the only thing. They just might not have won championships. But there were people who had guards.
Even the guards that you're going to say, you can mention them. Even if David Thompson won, who else was on that team? Who was on David Thompson's team?
They didn't have the bigs. I agree with you. But what I'm saying,
no. I'm not. No, they had a big. I'm saying even if David, if I'm not mistaken, let me look at it before I say it, because I believe he was where I thought he was.
He was with
them. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. No, he wasn't where I thought he was. I'm thinking about college. He played. I'm saying he was in Houston, but no, he was in Houston in college with Hakeem. He wasn't in the NBA with Hakeem. But even.
Oh no, he went to State.
Oh, David Thompson? Who the heck? Why am I getting him confused with somebody?
David Thompson went to State. Oh yeah, I know about that brother. So the reason why
I'm confusing him with there was who Vice Slammer Jammer was Hakeem Olajuwon.
I don't know who you I know you're talking about, but David Thompson. Here's the thing about David Thompson. I know David Thompson for two things. He went to State because my father went to State, and then two, he was Michael Jordan's favorite basketball player. And Michael Jordan styled his game. One of the Michael Jordan styled his game off of David Thompson.
Everybody.
So I think that when we look at and we say, well, if there wasn't a Michael Jordan, there wouldn't have been a Kobe Bryant. That's not true because we've seen guards do it. We just have never seen the way Jordan did it. I do agree. The only difference between Michael Jordan and other players was, yes, there was a winning formula between guards, but people have been trying to do that for years. Pistol Pete Maravich had there. So like the only difference is that Michael Jordan was just the best player in that era.
He
you know
showed.
What I'm saying? So
he had to prove it. He had to prove that you could do it.
And also he was the best player, and the Chicago Bulls as an organization did a good job in creating talent.
Great job.
Great talent in terms of getting that, but not every team is going to do that. So to every Giannis Antetokounmpo, to every Giannis Antetokounmpo, there's a Kevin Durant. to every Antetokounmpo, there's a Kevin Garnett who wished that he would have left earlier to win more championships, but he wanted to stay in Minnesota and win it. It's in terms of management. Michael Jordan had, as much as people say this and that, Michael Jordan had a lot of help. He had a lot of help.
Oh,
It's
not
about
it's not about
he had a
the
lot of
help
help from a coaching standpoint. And
Yeah.
he had a lot of help from a management standpoint.
Right. It's not about that he didn't have help. Nobody denies that.
Yeah.
Without Pippen, he may win one. Let's just say he may win one. He's definitely not winning 6 in a row. Well, not in a row, but 3 and 3.
3-3.
Right. He's definitely not doing that. But Michael Jordan changed the game. He made Steph Curry changed the game. Michael Jordan came in. That's when when Michael Jordan came in, everybody started shifting because everybody in college started to play like that. Nobody was playing in college. Nobody was trying to be David Thompson per se. I'm not saying nobody tried to be. Nobody was trying to be David Thompson. Michael Jordan came in. It's like,
how are you going to say that? And Michael Jordan wanted to be like David Thompson.
No, no. Listen, everybody models their game after somebody. So that's an ode to David Thompson.
But okay, so you don't think that Clyde Drexler, who didn't model his game after David's? I just.
No, I don't know. He got I don't know. You missed the point. That what I'm saying is
the influence.
Right, the influence that he had on the game is greater than. And I don't want to dislike David Thompson.
No, you're not by saying by saying that. You're not
but
saying
but it's not. He didn't have the influence. Steph Curry's influence. You don't get the Trae Youngs. You're not getting everybody trying to get the point guard.
I get
special point guard. Everybody's trying. They wouldn't do it if this guy didn't show. Oh no, we could do it, and this is how you do it. Michael Jordan set the blueprint. He set him in the Bulls. And he's the catalyst. I'm focused on him. I'm not slighting Scotty or anything like that. But his play and what he did was that. You don't you listen to Allen Iverson. You listen to everybody that came in. They were all modeling their game after Jordan. It's just like right now, you got why are 6'10" forwards shooting threes? Why? Because of Steph Curry.
I get it.
Why are Steph shooting threes?
And I'm not discrediting Michael Jordan in terms of influence, because obviously everybody at a young age wanted to be like Mike. All I'm really saying is that Michael Jordan had a huge help in terms of
everybody.
Not everybody has.
No. I'm talking about when you become the guy.
Okay.
You have help. There's nobody that's become the guy that didn't have help.
True.
When you get to that level where they're saying you're the GOAT of your era, let's just say that. When you're the guy that's saying you're the GOAT of that era, you're getting help. Kevin Garnett is a great player, and I think his skill set is better than Giannis because he can actually shoot. So when you look at Kevin Garnett, he played in Minnesota. If Minnesota won, he would have been boosted up a lot more. If Minnesota had won a chip. He would have been boosted up a lot more. He would have gotten a lot more credit in Minnesota. Kevin Garnett was one of my favorite players. He would have gotten a lot more accolades if he had won. When he got to Boston, then everybody was like, "Oh, Kevin Garnett," because nobody saw him in Minnesota. Nobody cared about him in Minnesota. It's the same way why you call recency bias on Giannis, because over the past, let's say 4 years. Giannis has matriculated and gotten better, and we got to see more of him in the playoffs. You said something earlier about somebody, and you're gonna see it again. Devin Booker was prior to this season. Devin Booker was not celebrated for being a great player. Devin Booker was clowned for scoring 70 points and still losing. That's what he was known for. Now that he's a winner, and that's what he is. If you ask anybody, they're like, who, the guy that scored 70 points and still lost? That's what you're talking about? No. Now that he's been on the big stage and they've seen him perform, now the narrative is changing. No, Derek Booker's a dog. You heard everybody talking about young Mamba. You know what I'm saying? So
I get it.
So now he's gotten a little bit more. Oh wait, did I mute myself?
No, you're on.
Oh, okay. I flash question. So now you're seeing a narrative change, and conversely, you're seeing a narrative change about Chris Paul. He's getting clowned. Chris Paul is out here getting clowned. If you look online, the consensus, if you're a basketball person, you're not going to clown Chris Paul. But let's just talk about the consensus of.
Oh, there's some basketball people who might clown Chris Paul.
Yeah,
There might
but
be some.
he's like point guard. He couldn't even. We was calling him point guard, and well, he always had that name, but he was like point guard. Then we saw Ruth shut him down. It was like, yo, Chris Paul is old. He never go. Like the narrative quickly switched. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with not your man, but you switch with Giannis. The first year they built the wall in Toronto. The next year, last year, what did Miami do? Jay Crowder and those built the wall. They saw the blueprint. They built the wall and stopped.
Monty Williams didn't build the wall. He didn't build it.
Right, and he didn't build the wall. And I kept saying, why is he letting Giannis get to the paint?
Because he trusted, and this is going to be the last point that I'm going to make in terms of this. But I just think that he trusted that guy a little bit too much. He wanted DeAndre Ayton to go against Giannis. He was like, "Hey, Ayton, I believe in you. You do this." And I think that I understand a coach wanting to believe in a player, but I just think that you have to look at it from a strategical standpoint and understand that everybody on the Bucks team outside of Giannis is very inconsistent. Everyone outside of Giannis, that's why they don't have a big three, because they're the most inconsistent big three. And that's not a slight, because both of them are really good players. Both of them are all-stars. But the fact of the matter is that they're inconsistent.
Yeah. But you know what? Let's stay right where we are talking about Phoenix. And how do you feel about Chris Paul? Well, how do you feel about the Suns bringing back Chris Paul and running it back again?
Well, I would just say that it's only right, in terms of running it back. I don't think that they will be in that position to do it again. I believe that this year was their one chance. And I know that in the beginning of this podcast, I said that Milwaukee was going to win the championship. But then I switched and said Phoenix on social media. And it was because I saw the Suns in the first two games. They were making those adjustments. They were doing the right things. And even with Giannis scoring 40, I believe in game two, like the Suns, to me, they did enough. They were doing enough to win. But then they let it slip out of their hands. They gave a championship away. I can't say they gave it. Giannis took it. But in the sense, game six, if we really were to be honest with it, if there was only one player that averaged, okay, let's be honest. Chris Middleton did not score his regular season or his playoff season average. Jrue Holiday did not have his regular season or playoff season average. The only player who scored his average or regular season performance, and he actually excelled, was Bobby Portis.
Oh, you're talking about on the team. Okay, got you.
Bobby Portis. Outside of that, it was Giannis's 50 piece. And the fact that they didn't do enough, Chris Paul didn't do enough, Devin Booker didn't do enough, the whole squad didn't do enough. It was a shame. They should have done more to cause a game seven, but they didn't have it in the bag. I think Chris Paul.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, Chris Middleton scored I had to look it up because I thought Chris Middleton had a good season. He scored. Chris Middleton averaged, in the finals. Chris Middleton.
No. Chris Middleton in that game averaged.
Oh, you're talking about that game. That's specific.
I'm saying he did not in that game average what he usually averages in a game. It was below the playoff record. It was below his playoff and his regular season average. It just was. Same thing for Jrue Holiday. These are just the facts. And the Suns, they gave it away. They sat back and watched Giannis put on one of the greatest performances of all time. And it's unfortunate. It's sad because people are clowning Chris Paul, and that's what the media does. That's what the fans are going to do anyway. But I just think that Chris Paul's great, but I also think that's why Chris Paul wants to win a championship, because he knows that to be in the greatest of great conversations, you need to win those championships. Because if you're not, you're in that Elgin Baylor territory, which is fine, But when you're in that Elgin Baylor territory,
let's say Charles Barkley, to bring so people Because I don't think people know who Elgin Baylor
Well,
is.
they should. You look him up. Look up Elgin Baylor. Look him up. He's in that Elgin Baylor. To me, he's got a greater legacy than Charles Barkley, but that might be disrespectful. It might be disrespectful. I do know that Charles Barkley is great, but to me, Elgin Baylor's legacy, his numbers, to me, he's right there. If Elgin Baylor wins a championship, he's right there with the greatest of the greats of all time. Charles Barkley is like he's like underneath the goats. Elgin Baylor to me is over Charles Barkley in terms of legacy. If we really look at it from a basketball standpoint, if we really were to look at Elgin Baylor's numbers,
Okay, you know what? Let's go down this road. Tell me why.
I'll tell you why. If you just look at Elgin Baylor's body of work, the fact that he was a small forward, 5'6",
6
the points
five,
per game average. You said what? 6'5".
You said 5'6". I know what you meant.
Oh, I thought I meant 6. I said, I thought I said 6'5".
I know what you meant. Yeah.
6'5", 11-time NBA All-Star, 10-time NBA 10-time All NBA first team, NBA 50th anniversary All Team Rookie of the Year, 27 points per game, 13.5 rebounds, 4.3 assists. If you look at the highlights, he was athletic, he was gifted, he was somebody to me. I mean, maybe Charles Barkley's numbers are the same.
Here's the problem, because when you run down those stats, one of the things you did not say, you didn't say MVP, and Barkley was the MVP.
I mean, okay. I mean, look, that's fine.
And you said 11-time All-Star. So was Barkley. Barkley also averaged a double-double. He was 20 and 10.
Look, he averaged more points and he had more rebounds. He averaged more points, and he averaged more rebounds. And he might have averaged, I'm not going to say he averaged more assists, and he might have averaged more assists per game too. Yeah, and he averaged more assists. So I just think
that's the part I always think is hard, because there's so much.
But I'm just talking about
it matters in the eras. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying to you, Elgin Baylor's in his era, to me, has a greater impact than Charles Barkley does. I think it's similar, but to me, I argue that Elgin Baylor is greater. You know what I'm saying? As an LA Laker fan, okay, I know the legacy and the history of Elgin Baylor. I've known it. I've studied it. I know it since the time that I was in basketball in 2001 when I saw Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal do their thing. Like, to me, and I've studied Charles Barkley, and he's one of the greatest players as well. But to me, if Chris Paul is is right there with that Elgin Baylor situation in terms of greatest players to never win a championship. But that's my perspective. I could be wrong. People can disagree with me. That's fine. But that's how I see it.
I don't know. I'll have to look some more, because I can't really get into it, because I don't have enough. I have to go back and look. And I'm not talking about tape. I just have to go back and look, because like I always, this is my whole thing. We don't have to belabor the point on this. This is my whole thing with the older players. When people start looking at Will Chamberlain, like, you know, I always say, and I've said this to you before, I never argue the older players. If somebody tells me that Will Chamberlain's the greatest player to ever live, I just accept it. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't, oh, Will Chamberlain is better than Shaq. I just accept it. You know what I'm saying? Because if I get to get into a discussion with somebody about that, they experienced it, so their experience is different. It's always like when you know, my son will probably say LeBron is the GOAT. I'll say Jordan is the GOAT. Well, he experienced LeBron, and I experienced LeBron and Jordan, so I have a greater perspective. But who's to argue that? Or the people who say Allen Iverson is that guy. Like, if you like LeBron, if you listen to LeBron's favorite player is Allen Iverson. Like, think about that. That's his favorite player is Allen Iverson, the guy that never practiced, the guy that just went in and freestyled every single game and everything. That's his favorite player, because as a youth during that time, everybody wanted to be AI. Steph Curry said that's his guy too. Everybody, if you came up during what was that? You was probably born around 86 and you came up I don't know, maybe I'm getting my years wrong. or if you came up during the time when AI first stepped on the court, you wanted to be AI because you just related to that guy.
Yeah, I get it.
He's from the inner city. You related to that guy.
Yeah.
He looked like you. He dressed like you. It mattered. It mattered. So it hit different versus if you saw Jordan or if you saw Magic or whoever you may have experienced. My only thing is with those when people start talking about the older players, it's like, yo, the average height in the NBA was 6'6". Of course, Wilt Chamberlain at 7'1" was going to average 50 points and 25 rebounds. There were
guys. I disagree with you because there were guys who were 6'10", 6'11" in that league.
Name them.
I can name them.
During Wilt Chamberlain's run, you're going to go Kareem. You're going to go Kareem, and you're going to go Bill Russell. Who were the dominant big men? Not just tall guys. You can't just
Wes Unseld. What are you talking about? Wes Unseld was a dominant.
Unseld, right? I think it's Wes Unseld. I think so. Yeah, Wes Unseld. I know who he is because he was a GM later on in
Okay, Wes. Well, he was a 6'7" center, but
see what I'm saying?
But so what? Charles Barkley was a 6'5" power forward. That stuff. So like, let's be honest about that. And then another thing too.
No.
But hold on. But wait. We can't look.
You have to name it dominant.
6'5" power forward.
Right, 6'7". Right, that was the average height.
But what I'm saying is that there were other.
Wait.
Willis Reed was also another guy. But that's almost like saying, okay, I'll give you an example. That's like because you grew up with Al Sharpton, right? Al Sharpton was one of the great figures in African American history in terms of civil rights, correct?
In terms of civil rights, no.
Well, in terms of
you're talking about the time period, like the 80s
time
and 90s.
period.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Just hear what I'm saying. So that's like saying Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, because they were in your era, are the greatest activists of all time. But we know that really we could argue, well, what about Dr. King or read about Frederick Douglass? You didn't experience seeing those guys. Just hear what I'm saying. Just hear what I'm saying. You didn't see it physically what these brothers were doing. We didn't see what Marcus Garvey was doing. We didn't see what W. Du Bois was doing. We didn't see what maybe even Dr. King was doing. I didn't see what Frederick Douglass was doing, but that don't mean that I don't believe that he's one of the greatest black leaders of all time, and you could argue, in my opinion, the greatest black activist of all time, the greatest black leader of all time. And he was somebody who was born in the 1800s. Dr. King, you could argue, is right there with him. And I didn't experience him. I didn't watch him. I just watched clips. It depends on, so like when we talk about,
you gotta
see it. It's not just based on what you see. It's based on it's based on the legacy, and it's based on the people who played with them and watched them. It's based on the people who saw them.
Right, but my point is this. When Willis Reed was in the game, this has nothing to do with the dominance in this is nothing about his legacy or anything. Great player. I think he would have been a great player no matter what.
And how tall was he? He was 6'10".
7'1".
He was 6. So what? So okay. Well, wait a minute. No one was Shaq's size. Wait. So
yes, he was.
Wait.
No, he wasn't his weight. He wasn't his weight class. His size.
But at the end of the day, no, that's semantics. We say no one was Shaq's size. So can we make the point? Well, no one was Shaq's size.
No, you can't.
So that's why he can. No, actually, people have said that. People have made the point of, well, Shaq. The reason why he was so dominant and so great was because he was just bigger than everybody else.
No, he was
just bigger than everybody else. It's not just based on that.
But that's irresponsible.
It's not just based on
No. Wait. We gotta stop for a second. That's irresponsible. It's not because there was plenty of big men. There were literally plenty of big men in the league when Shaq played because it was still
when Shaq was dominating in the early thousands. Who was on Shaq's level? We know what was
David Robinson.
David Robinson was not on the same level as Hakeem Olajuwon. He just wasn't. Come on, he wasn't.
No.
So
Then
like,
you go, okay,
like,
wait. You're moving the goalpost because then I can say the same thing about Wes Unseld. He's a 6'9" guard. There was no,
but
listen, Shaq was
that's what I'm
7'1".
arguing. That's what
No,
I'm
no, no,
arguing.
no, 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 no. Shaq was 7'1".
Okay.
David Robinson was 7'1". He had somebody that size that he went against. What Shaq was, because that's why I say it's, the reason I'm saying it's irresponsible is because just because it wasn't Shaq was big, Shaq had actual talent at that size.
Will
That's
Chamberlain had actual talent
You
at
said
that
who?
size. Will Chamberlain had
No,
actual
no, no.
talent
I never.
at
That's
that
not what.
size.
Yeah, but that's not the point that I'm making. What I said was he had nobody of equal value that could go up against him.
Magic Johnson was a 6'9" point guard that no one could defend because he was taller than everybody. Does that mean that he's not the greatest point guard of all time because he had a 5-6 inch advantage over him?
Right. Yeah. No,
I mean seriously. I mean we
but
can't.
right, but
So,
you're right,
seriously.
but Magic was challenged. Nobody challenged Wilt.
Well, how can you say that when Wilt Chamberlain lost more than he won?
No. You're
So I don't understand what you're saying.
You're moving the goalpost.
How am I moving the goalpost? You said challenge.
Right.
When you say challenge.
Because this is when I go move. This is what moving the goalpost means. When we talk about Jordan, you said Jordan is great, but you got to remember he had a team. I can say the same thing about Wilt. He never had a team in Philly. That's why I said
he had a team in Golden State.
Huh?
Wait. How am I moving the goalpost?
You said Jordan. People call Jordan the GOAT. And
well, we're not talking about Jordan.
No,
you're moving the goalpost.
No, I'm not. I'm using your own argument about Jordan against why you keep saying it about Wilt. When you talk about Jordan, you said Jordan is great, but he's not this because he had a team.
I didn't say he wasn't nothing.
No. You said people forget and act like he didn't have the team around him and he had help. You said that. Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Wilt Chamberlain had no help in Philly when he scored 100 points. He had no help. What I'm saying is I'm only talking about Wilt Chamberlain. I'm not talking about nobody else. Who besides Kareem and Bill Russell, who was only 6'9", but was a great
Wes Unseld.
Unseld is not a guy. Wilt Chamberlain was 7'1", 275.
Wes Unseld and Willis Reed.
Willis Reed was not that tall either.
He was 6'10".
You gotta stop naming these guys. They were not in the same. Oh crap! I got off. No, Willis Reed 6'9", 235. I'm looking at him right now.
Okay, I get it.
That's not a guy. That's not a guy.
That is a guy. That's a guy.
That's not taken away from Willis Reed. That's not taken away.
Okay, so if we're gonna say that, then we need to say the same thing about Magic Johnson and the fact that he was 5 to 6 inches taller than everyone else in basketball.
No, because now you're moving the goalpost because you talk about Magic.
No, but you were moving the goalpost when you were saying Michael Jordan. You bringing in Michael Jordan. So I'm gonna bring in something else. And then once we saw Magic Johnson face a guy like Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen, who was athletic in their size, he got what happened? He didn't have the same influence. He didn't have the same influence.
See Magic Johnson.
He didn't have the same influence. When he faced Scottie Pippen, that's a fact.
But that's old Magic. You talking about old Magic?
It
does matter. It does matter. That wasn't Magic in his prime. When you go back and you look at these old
Magic
guys,
was still great in '88. Magic was still great in '87. What do you mean?
That's not
when he faced Dennis Rodman.
That's not. They didn't fight. That's not when they played in the finals.
No, I'm saying is Dennis Rodman was facing them in '88. He faced him in '88, '89.
You're talking about Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, I'm saying Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen. I'm saying
but he faced Scottie later. He faced Scottie.
Okay, he played Scottie in '91, but Dennis Rodman. I mentioned both guys. Dennis Rodman in his during the end of his prime.
But no. This is where you're wrong. Dennis Rodman was not guarding Magic Johnson. Isaiah was guarding Magic Johnson. Dennis Rodman was dealing with the bigs. Because remember,
Dennis Rodman was guarding Magic Johnson.
When?
He was guarding Magic Johnson in that series.
I'm only talking about the finals. I don't know about regular season games. I'm talking about the finals. But wait, let me get back to my Wilt Chamberlain point. There was nobody 7'1" in the league. Wilt was 7'1". When Shaq played, Mark Eaton is 7'5", 394 pounds. He went against guys that were his size, not as skilled. Not
They
as
weren't
good.
just his skill. They weren't his weight. They weren't his muscle
I just
mass.
said McKain was
That's
7'5",
I
390.
get the thing about height, but let's be honest. People have also said he's the most dominant big man because he was just bigger than everybody else.
No,
So if we're gonna,
that's irresponsible. Whoever said that making an irresponsible name. What Shaq was, if we talk about Shaq, and we going on too long now. But when we talk
yeah,
about Shaq, it was because Shaq was a big man who had feet of a small forward. That was the key to Shaq in the post.
and that's what Wilt Chamberlain was. Wilt Chamberlain was on the track team. Wilt Chamberlain was in gymnastics.
Yeah, but
Wilt Chamberlain was
but Wilt, I saw Wilt. Now the greats. I saw the greats play. I didn't see like Wes Unseld play, but the greats, the Wilts, the Kareems, and I'm talking about Kareem before the Lakers. They weren't. He wasn't. He was that guy. There was nobody that size. This was the whole thing. And the reason I noticed about Wilt because there was a whole documentary on it, and they were talking about Wilt, what would Wilt be able to do? And this was in the early 90s. It was an old Sports Illustrated tape they used to send with the subscription. And they said Wilt would still be dominant today, but he would have more competition. The reason Wilt dominated, he was a great player, but there was nobody within the league. They were like, Wilt is a player. And this is like Marv Albin was talking about. Wilt was a player. Marv Albin was not Marv Albin. What's the guy's name? I forgot his name. The guy from ABC Sports. I forget. Cosell. Cosell said, this is what Greg Cosell said. Not Greg Cosell, whatever Cosell's first name is. He said, I used to ask Wilt, what are you going to do this season? And Wilt would just tell me, I think this season I want to lead the league in assists, and I'm just going to do it. Nobody can do that. He could do that because nobody was his size. He just said, I'm going to do that. He would go and say, Wilt, where are you going to lead the league? He said, I'm going to lead the league in points and rebounding.
It wasn't just because of his size; it was because of his talent. I totally
no. I'm not. No, he's talented. This is not about his talent. What I said was he had nobody to defend him. Most of those teams, just like you said, back then you had 6'5" power forwards. 6'5" power forwards, 6'6" right now power forwards is cool because Draymond is one. 6'6" power forwards in the 90s, nah, bro. Because power forwards was 6'10". You was going to get a
Actually, your MVP was a power forward. Charles Barkley. So.
Yeah, right. We have wait. There's always outliers.
I get it, but I'm saying
outlier. Dennis Rodman is an outlier.
But what I'm saying is that there are great players, whether there's and I get what you're saying is that yes, the 90s had a greater level of competition in terms of centers.
Big
but just because someone's a certain height doesn't mean that they don't have great basketball talent in that position.
Nah, it was that. I never said anything about his talent. I said he had nobody. You can't take a 6'9" guy and put me at 7'1" in the league where they didn't have 7'1" players.
If that's the case, then Bobo should have been the greatest player of all time. Then Yao Ming should have dominated.
You know why you're moving the goalpost. You know why you're moving the goalpost.
Yao Ming is 7'6".
Yao Ming, hold on. Yao Ming, wait. Yao Ming dominated. He got hurt.
Yeah, look, he dominated, but was he better than Shaq? I mean, but he was 5 inches taller.
Shaq was more talented, but look who you named.
Well, you could argue that Yao could shoot
wasn't
better.
More talented than Shaq.
You could argue he was he could shoot
better. He had a better shot.
You could argue. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's better skilled because Shaq is my favorite player, but there are certain things
right. But look what you're naming. You can't name another guy. If I was to go back, and I would have to do research, and then we can come back to it. If I was to go back and look at games that Wes Unseld played Wilt Chamberlain, I promise you Wilt Chamberlain gave him 50 and 20 every single time because he could not compete with what was doing. He wasn't big enough.
Look, I get what you're saying, but Wilt Chamberlain in his 50s could bench press more than Shaq in his prime.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing.
Look, different eras. People say it don't matter. In Wilt Chamberlain's 50s, in his 50s, in his 50s, he could bench. Yeah, it would, because that's strength. That's one of the reasons why Shaq was dominating.
I said eras matter.
But what I'm saying is that Wilt was so great. Wilt benched more than Shaq did in his prime.
And if Wilt played,
Wilt did it in his
get run
50s.
off the court. If Wilt played today, he'd get run off the court.
I don't believe.
Patrick Ewing,
Absolutely not. He would be like Giannis. You know how skinny that man was? He was on the track team. How can you say that?
Yeah, but if I go small, why do you think there's no big men in the league right now?
There are big men in the league.
No,
There's
no, no,
Joel
no, no.
Embiid. There's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
No.
There's Jokic.
Wait. Where's
There's
Embiid
Anthony
right now?
Davis.
Where's Embiid right now?
He's where everyone else is because the season's over. I don't know.
Right. Why was his season over?
His season over was because Ben Simmons choked.
Oh, so now you blame it on the team. We was talking about he didn't dominate that series.
Joel
Embiid did not dominate that series.
For the record, and then another thing too, as much as I like Ben Simmons and he choked, Joel Embiid, and I gotta go soon because I gotta go. But I'm just gonna say that Embiid was hurt. Embiid was hurt that series, but he kept going. So I just think, look, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this point. You know, we're gonna have to disagree. Will's my guy. You know what I mean? I if you look at Will's stats, if you look at it, but I would never ever believe he played in a weak era. I don't care about the height thing because I can bring the weight thing. But we're just gonna disagree to disagree. We're gonna agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you everybody for listening to Conversation in Sports. This was a fiery episode, especially in the end.
Yeah.
See y'all next week.